Okay, welcome everyone to Launching Your First Beauty Skincare Business. We have Elena. She is one of our Score Boston mentors. She has a beautiful last name that I will respect by not butchering and trying to pronounce properly. But as we get started, I do want to review with you a few things about Score, just to make sure that you're taking full advantage of everything Score has to offer. Our goal is to share small business information. We do that in a couple different ways. One, through the score.org website, you're going to find podcasts, blogs, previously recorded webinars, articles, templates you can download, not just business plan templates, but marketing templates and different, there's just a whole list. So I definitely dig through the website and take a look at some of the materials there. The other way is through our workshops and webinars. Most are free or low cost. Those are advertised through social media, on our newsletter, and of course are listed on our website as well. I think the most important way, though, we share information, it would be through our mentoring. Our mentors are volunteers. They come to SCORE with a variety of skill sets and experiences that they've learned from to share with the small business community. We work with folks on the whole path. If you're trying to decide a small business is right for you, if you're in the planning phase, in business, growing your business, ready to exit your business, we work with you on the whole journey. If you have never had a mentoring session before, sessions are going to probably be in the 45-minute range. They want to learn about you. They want to learn about your goals and your challenges, and they're going to work with you to come up with a plan so that you can be successful. It's not uncommon that your mentor may change or invite others to join in just to make sure that you get everything that you are looking for. So the next logical question is going to be, how do I get that mentor? So there are definitely multiple different ways on the score.org website. I think the easiest is let us do the matching for you. You just put your zip code in. That'll connect you to the chapter nearest you. Um, then you'll fill out a really short contact form. We want to know what your business is and how someone can help you at this time, in this point in time. And we'll use that information to match you to the most appropriate volunteer. So we are going to use Q&A. I do anticipate a lot of questions today. So if you have questions for the presenter, put them into the Q&A tab. We will get to as many as we possibly can. You can do other interaction through chat. That's fine. But if you want a question read out, definitely put that in Q&A. We are recording, and this will get posted in about 24 to 48 hours. We will also be following up with an email for those that have attended today with some of the resource materials that she's going to be presenting. So I'm going to pull my share down and allow, you want to get yours up, and we're ready to go.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. Hello, everybody. Great to have you, and thank you for stopping by. Hopefully this will be fun. Let me share the presentation first. So I'm Elena Chernokalskaya, that's how it's pronounced. And yeah, you probably want to know, why do we trust this lady? So yeah, I'm a PhD scientist with many, many years spent in the lab working for pharma and biotech companies. And then I became manager and executive and running large R&D organizations. So I didn't work in the lab anymore, but I always loved working in the lab. So many, many years ago, we invented a synthetic membrane that mimics permeability of human skin. And until now, it's a standard for testing transdermal drugs. So that's where it started, where I started getting interested in how does skin work. And then the second deciding factor for me was somewhere in my executive years, I looked at the list of ingredients on my very expensive skincare prep. And I said, wow, that looks like organic chemistry textbook. And so I made my own one, and it worked very well. So for many, many years, I've been using my own skincare. And then I started my first business after I quit corporate world, and I still run it. It's not huge. You probably never heard of it, but it's a small boutique which keeps me occupied. So when I built this presentation, I basically said, what is that I wanted to know when I started? And what is that I couldn't find a lot of information about? And I figured, yeah, I'll just put this in the presentation. All those things going back to when I made my first formulation, which formulation was always easy for me. It's the other stuff which was challenging. So regulations, what's a requirement in formulating, what's deal with packaging, selling, marketing, cost of goods and margins, can I get rich on that? And of course, Q&A, so we'll go through that. But we will start from regulatory considerations. And that's important because you don't want to break any laws. We'll talk about FDA requirements. Since we are in the United States, we're mostly going to be talking about Federal Drug Administration. I will mention EU requirements a little bit in case somebody is from Europe or considers selling in Europe. We'll talk about claims and ingredient safety. And I probably will just start from LLC registration and say, you know what, if you want to put something on human body and sell it, you probably want to have LLC. Don't risk your personal assets. That's pretty much all about LLC registration. And let's go to what FDA says. In the United States, cosmetics industry is not strictly regulated. Now, what is cosmetics and how is it different from drugs, right? So this is very important to understand. So cosmetics, FDA defines cosmetics as something that altering the appearance of human skin, but doesn't appear function or structure. This is very, very important difference. If the article intended to be applied on human body for cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness, altering the appearance. So fingernail polishes, makeup, perfumes, shampoos, hair colors, moisturizers, lotions, serums. This is all changes appearance, altering the appearance, but doesn't change structure of human body. Okay, so if it's that, you fall under Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, FD&C Act, and Fair Packaging and Labeling Act. So there's two federal acts that you need to be familiar with. And this is what they require. FD&C Act prohibits the marketing of adulterated or misbranded cosmetics in interstate commerce. So what does it mean? So if your bottle says it's a red nail polish and when customers opens the bottle, opens the box and it's green, that's misbranded or adulterated. If you sell beautiful moisturizer and customer gets it and on the second day he has a big fungus growing on it, that's adulterated. So what if the FDA tells you what you sell, that's what customers should get, what you sell and what you promote. So that's very soft regulation, I would say. There is no licenses that you need to get. There is no any special permits. That's all it is. However, if your product is intended for therapeutic use, such as treating or preventing disease, affects structure or function of the body, then it's classified as a drug or medical device, and it does require FDA approval. So this is important. Okay, good. So there's three major exceptions from that rule. So like I said, generally, FDA doesn't tell you what you can or cannot use in your cosmetic formula. But there are three classes of ingredients that are very strictly regulated. One of them is color additives. You probably heard about the red something color recently that is going to be eventually prohibited, I think. So there are colors that are allowed on human body, and there are colors that are pigments that are not allowed on human body. You have to pay attention to suppliers' data. You have to buy from respectable supplier. There's also database link in the end of this presentation that you will get for all list of allowed colorings. This is very much applies to, for example, mica. You buy mica, colored mica on Amazon, and there are beautiful colors, and you put it in your eyeshadow, and somebody can have significant eye damage from that. So you have to know that the colors that they use on mica is FDA approved for human body. The second class is fragrances. So they regulated by FDA as general ingredients, but there's an International Fragrance Association, and they have recommendations. So it's soft, but it's very important. The concentrations of fragrances are, so fragrances can be extremely irritating. If you don't consider the maximum allowed concentration for fragrances, you may have somebody with a skin burn. So it is important. Again, most suppliers will provide data, and IFRA gives you different concentrations for different like, for example, there's higher concentration of fragrances can be used in candles and room sprays, lower concentration for example, body lotions, even lower concentration for lip balms. Many of them are not allowed in lip balms, for eye creams and for baby formulas. So be careful about that. I will provide a link to IFRA as well in the end. The third category is SPF. Sunscreen actually is considered to be a medical device, so because it prevents skin damage. So FDA regulates SPF. And if you make something with SPF claim, you have to have a professional lab tested and giving you a certificate that your formulation actually does have ability to absorb or reflect broadband UV. This is not optional. You must do it, otherwise you're violating FDA regulations. So those are the three that in the United States you have to be careful about. Europe is much more strictly regulated because they actually require things like responsible persons. So all cosmetic products should be registered, and they should be registered with the name of responsible person. There is centralized notification of all cosmetic products placed in European market. There is strict rule for nanomaterials in cosmetic products. And they also have a database for serious undesirable effects. So if somebody has a significant reaction to your product, you're supposed to report it. You're supposed to get the information and report it to European Union. I'm adding COSING, European Ingredients Database. It's also in the end of the presentation, so you will have it. It is very, very extensive and very scientific database. It may be hard to use if you are not familiar with that, but it is very good. I use it actually all the time. Okay, so then from there, we go directly to claims, right? So if we're saying that that's what FDA allows, and that's what doesn't allow. It allows changing appearance, but doesn't allow changing structure and function of the body, then there are certain things that you can claim in your marketing literature or on your website, and certain things you cannot. So you cannot say it heals dry skin. You cannot say it cures breakouts. You cannot say clinically proven to, never say clinically proven to, even if you have a friend who is a doctor and he said it's great. It's not clinic. Clinical study is very strict definition. Never say it's better than prescription. You haven't proven it. Safe for is a gray zone. Sometimes you can say safe for, but like when you say it's safe for people with eczema or safe for babies or safe for using ice, you better know what you say. Protects from disease, never alleviates migraines. I had somebody who had a skin cream which supposedly alleviates migraines. You cannot say that, or removes dark spots. So what can you say then? You can say improves appearance of. You can say it smooths and softens skin. It makes skin look radiant, right? Makes face look younger. Has a relaxing scent. May support healing. May is important word. You probably noticed that many of the cosmetics you buy say it may provide, it may support. Yeah, because you can't claim this. It reduces wrinkles. Wrinkles is a cosmetic defect, so it's softens wrinkles. Okay, that's possible. And it lightens dark spots. So it's not going to remove the melanin producing cells. Still going to be in the skin, but you're just saying they're going to look lighter, which is very reasonable. Okay, so that's about FDA requirements and how it translates into your claims. Now, formulations. I'm not going to teach formulations here. I will be absolutely happy to run the whole session on how to formulate. I love this stuff, but this is not not about that. I'm sure you already made some. Many of you made some. You probably made lip balms. You may have made body oils and body butters and maybe candles, which is not cosmetics, but kind of in the same category. Soaps, many people make soaps. But if you want to sell and you want to have a business, you need to know a little bit more. And so this is the things like basic chemistry knowledge, pH, solubility, viscosity, stability, miscibility, compatibility, interactions. If any of those words sounds like foreign language to you, you probably want to read up or take a class on this. You need to be very comfortable working in aseptic environment. So cosmetic products are not made sterile. They're never sterile, but they are made in aseptic environment with preservatives. So you need to be comfortable knowing how to achieve a septic environment and how work in a septic environment without breaking it. I can tell you that if you get contamination in your environment where you're making your beautiful lotions, it is very hard to get rid of. So aseptic is important. Safe concentrations, we already talked about safe concentrations, but you can use environmental working group database or COSING. I have links to both of them in the end. But especially for preservatives. So preservatives are very controversial these days. So there are people who are saying, I would never use anything that contained preservatives. If you have water in your formulation, any amount of water, and I'm saying water, it could be aloe juice or it could be plant extract, anything with water, you must have preservatives. Otherwise, you're spreading bacteria on the faces of your customers. That's basically how it works. The companies that say they do not use preservatives, they either have alcohol at high concentration in there, alcohol at over 25% concentration will be bacteriostatic. It will not kill bacteria, but it will stop them from growing. So they either use alcohol or they have sterile production environment and filling environment where your formulation is not going to be exposed to human hands, basically, right? So think about this jar of lotion. People will stick their hands in there and their hands are not going to be necessarily clean. So they're going to bring all kind of additional friends into that formulation. And they will grow very happily because you have sugar there, you have oil in there, and you have water in there. Bacteria love that stuff. You have to use preservatives. And then because of that, also microbiological testing. So you need to know how to test for microbiology, for things growing in there. It's not expensive test. There's a lot of labs around which will do it for you. There's also at-home microbiology tests that you could use. They're actually not bad. And then temperature stability of your formulation. So no matter how great your formulation is, when it's shipped to Alaska in the middle of winter or it's shipped to Arizona in the middle of summer, it's going to be stressed. Unless you're selling in your personal shop and it never sees extreme temperatures, although with that too, I've seen people who leave my creams in their car in 100 degrees day for a day, and then they ask me, why do I have those little oil droplets on the top? So they will be tested with the high and low temperatures. So you should know what happens to your formulation. In some cases, it's just a mix and everything is fine. In some cases, it will fall apart. So you should know that. Okay, so let's go to packaging part. So why are we talking about packaging? That's kind of a very mundane routine stuff, right? It's actually not, because I changed packaging probably 7 times just because things were not fitting. So think about it, the packaging actually has 3 major functions, right? So it showcases your brand, first of all, it is storage shipping container, and it's source of information. And all of that needs to be fulfilled by that little jar or, bottle that you use, and the outer box and the shipping box. If you don't use outer box and it's just bottle and a shipping box, you have to think about where you're going to put all this information. So brand, first of all, it's memorable. People should look at the box and think of your brand. It communicates brand value. Are you selling, is that luxury? Is that the country girl charm? Is that something for athletes and people who work out in the gym all the time? What it looks like and what it's named is actually affecting what people expect from what's in the box. Your colors, fonts, graphics, it's all going to be on the box. And it makes a first impression. Believe it or not, when we opening and we see the label first, that's the first impression we get of the product. And that will affect us. That will affect what we expect from the product. If the packaging is, wrapped up in a bubble wrap and nothing fancy, okay, it's not expensive product. It still could be good, but it's just not going to be perceived as luxury. Storage shipping containers. This is very important because majority of skincare formulations leak very happily. If it contains oil, the more oil it contains, the happier it's going to leak. Oil has tendency to creep outside of a bottle. If you remember your like olive oil bottle, it's always sticky outside because oil kind of has tendency to creep up and creep out. So you have to test your bottles first of all. It has to protect from contamination, obviously, so bugs don't get in there. Hopefully you have preservative in there, but still, you want to protect it from your bottles to be unbreakable, or at least the outer packaging should be protecting your bottles from breaking. And it also should preserve actives. If you say there's vitamin C and, it should be vitamin C when customer opens it. It needs to be tested for dropping somewhere because your package will be dropped from all kind of surfaces onto all kind of surfaces on all kind of heights. Amazon requirement, I also sell on Amazon. So Amazon requirement is to package everything as you would in the outer shipping box and drop it from the height of 3 feet 3 times. So if your bottle survives that, you're probably okay, but make sure you test that. It's a good idea actually to ship whatever you created, package it all together, put label on it, package it how you would ship it to a customer, and ship it across the country to somebody and ask them to ship it back to you. You will open and you'll find out a lot of interesting things, including, a whole bunch of fiber from boxes on your bottle and labels falling off and leakages and cracks and bubbles in the cream all of a sudden. Where did they come from? I didn't have them when I started. So all those things, I mean, it's interesting, and test them before you feel comfortable. And the last one is source of information. So remember Fair Labeling Act? You have to have list of ingredients, you have to have intended use, you have to have warning. Shelf life and expiration, if it's product that has limited shelf life, yes. If you're using forever chemicals in your formulation, then probably not, but why would you? And certainly contact info. So if somebody gets this box and they open it and something happened to it, they don't know what's leaked all over their, USPS track. They need to they need to know whom to contact and what was in that bottle. Big oily spot on their shipping, on their track. They would like to know what exactly is in, and is it dangerous for the driver. So, okay. Labeling. Very important. So list of ingredients is required. It's not negotiable. You have to have a list of ingredients if you retail it to consumers. You probably already know that you need to have full list of ingredients in order of dominance, so highest concentration to lowest concentration, and letters not smaller than 1/16 of an inch, so it's about 1.5 millimeters. That one I didn't know, so I was trying to fit my long list ingredients on a very small bottle, and I thought, I actually can print it, but no, they're too small, they're not readable. So make sure that they like 1.5 millimeters or more. I think it's like font size 6 around there. 5, 6 is still acceptable. Anything lower than that, it's not readable. So you're violating regulations. So there's inner packaging, outer packaging, and the shipping box. So shipping box obviously needs to protect in the shipping. The outer packaging. So if your bottle is very small, if you put your formulation in a very small bottle, you don't have room for ingredients. You have to think about where you're going to put list of ingredients. So you may need to use outer box. In that case, you have to think that your inner packaging should fit into outer packaging, and then it all should fit somehow in the shipping box. So think about it. Before you order 5,000 custom print boxes and realize that your containers, your jars are not fitting in those boxes anymore. So it's, you would be surprised how many clients I have who are telling me they have 5,000 boxes sitting and they don't know what to do with them. All right. So that's about that. So let's go a little bit more to kind of sales and marketing. And again, talking about sales and marketing or beauty products, we can have multiple webinars dedicated to that. So I'm just giving you some things to think about. I'm sure you're thinking about your own business site, absolutely, like Shopify or mine is built on Squarespace. I love that platform. I think it's great. I'm sure you know online marketplaces, Amazon, everybody thinks Amazon, artisan marketplaces as well. Amazon has Amazon Handmade, Etsy, good place. And Michael's now has marketplace. So I don't know if you've heard about it, but Michael's kind of competing with Etsy for artisanal marketplace. You may sell in retail stores and pop-ups, arts and craft fairs. That's also great. I'm sure you thought about it. The two last ones are not so much thought of typically, but you can sell at partners. And places like hair salons, they have people sitting there for hours. It's your captive audience, right? If you have somebody, a friend in a hair salon who works in a hair salon, maybe they can take your formulations and put them on their shelf. And you need to increase visibility, right? When you start, unless you have millions of followers, and if you do, please raise your hand. But if you're like me, a best kept secret, you're unknown. You need to get known, right? You need to get visible. And salons, offices, studios, like yoga studios, Pilates studios, they are good places to put your products, and people will find them and people will try them, and some of them will come to your website, as long as there is information about your website, where to find it, right? Call to action. And then subscription boxes. So subscription boxes actually will require you to produce a lot of small samples. I mean, we're talking thousands of small samples, probably, and you will pay for that. So it's expensive, but you will get to thousands of customers this way, and they will learn about you. And if they loved your sample, they will come back to your website and buy your product. So Craigjo is one of them. There's many more subscription boxes. And then we go to marketing. So one thing to know with a beauty business is that you're going to be in overcrowded market. And I use overcrowded, but not oversaturated. And this is for me two different things. So overcrowded means there's a lot of people selling, a lot of people buying too. There's a lot of customers, right? Oversaturated means that there's no room for new offerings. And I think there's always is, because this is a market where it's like an art. You never saturate an art market because everybody has their own vision and makes their own unique articles and tells their own unique story. So you will have room, but so will be million others. So you need to have very compelling story and brand vision. Again, unless you're Rihanna and you just launching your first beauty line, yeah, you probably have millions for marketing and you have the story, so you don't need to. But for all of us, the story needs to be there. And test the value prop. So we did write 4 value propositions for my business when I started, and we sent it to about 30 of our friends and say, what appeals to you? It wasn't what we thought would appeal to them. So, if something seems to you that it's very appealing and interesting, it doesn't really mean that it's going to be appealing and interesting to everybody else. So test it. If influencers are your thing, sure, reach out to them, create your social media pages. I created this presentation a year ago, and I said create content. If I were creating it today, the first line would be content marketing. I think content marketing is getting so big and interesting. This is where you don't need to have a lot of followers. You just need to have a good content. Think about sites like Substack, Beehive, Reddit. You can put content in there and you can subtly mention that you have products in the end, and your content will sell yourself. So blogs, right? So blogs, small posts, something interesting that people want to learn, people want to read about. If you don't have a lot of money to put nice pictures in the glossy magazines, but you have a lot of good ideas, that is a place for you. Your content will sell. So content marketing is the future of marketing. So please do consider that. And then, of course, you need to know how to optimize your search engine, how to run online promotion, and testimonials. You can't underestimate that. People trust online is a very important factor. So if somebody can say that they tried your product, they love your product, it always, always helps. Okay, so here is this three examples to give you some inspiration. Definitely not, probably maybe not what inspires you, but these three companies kind of inspired me because they have their own story. So Little Seed Farm is a goat farm, and they talk about their goats. They use goat milk in their formulations. They all very earthy, crunchy. They look like something that made in a very small shop. They're not that small anymore, but they still kind of have this sense of like being close to the farm. And not all their formulations have goat milk in them. They have some other things without it, but they started from it. They built that image and that story. And I remember them because I love stuff on the farm. I grew up on the farm, so it always warms me up, and I want to try their products. Osea is now at Nordstrom, actually. When I learned about them first time, they were very, very small. They just started. They started as a small spa somewhere on a shore. Their husbands were going into the sea to get fish, and the women decided, oh, we'll use some sea products to make skincare. So they did use seawater and algae and seaweed in their formulations, and that's where it all started. And they now in Nordstrom and other department stores, they're doing very well. I've seen them in Sephora as well. And then The Ordinary. So if you probably never heard of Little Seed Farm, you may have heard of Osea. The Ordinary, I'm sure you've heard about. So The Ordinary went the other way. So they just basically said, we're going to sell to people who need functional. They need functional ingredients. They don't really care about the bright packaging and good smell and looks and consistency and textures. They know what they want. I just want my vitamin B. Give me my vitamin B. So they basically said that we're going to, promote integrity. And integrity means if I said it's vitamin B, it's vitamin B. It's not vitamin B and 55 other forever chemicals, because I want to give you this beautiful pink color and wonderful smell and beautiful texture and charge you for that. The Ordinary is very affordable. And they have a huge following. There are people who absolutely hate them and the people who absolutely love them. So that's three different stories, but I hope it will give you inspiration how to build story around your products, because those are memorable. And that's what brings people to you. And then segmentation. I'm sure you're going to be thinking about customer segmentations as you go to market, and you will start thinking, okay, is my customer 20 to 30-year-old woman? Is my customer a man over 50? Is my customer a teenager? But think about it, like I want you to take step even higher, right? So let's look at the whole market, and there's basically three categories. And I discovered it while working with people, talking to people, and I said, there's like three categories of people, and you have to know who is yours. There are non-users. There are most men are non-users. They just think that They're handsome enough, and they are, and they don't need any skincare stuff or cosmetic stuff. They just don't buy it. They think it's a waste of money. Then there are casual users, what I call casual users. Tons of people go to buy groceries and buy skincare or buy cosmetics. They basically say it's way too complicated and expensive to go to, select. I will just go and, I go to Trader Joe's. A lot of my friends buy their skincare stuff at Trader Joe's. I didn't think it was a good place to buy skincare, but people do, and they don't want to change that behavior. And then a small group of super users. This is actually a small group. These are people who actually read ingredients, learn about ingredients, follow the trends, follow the brands, talk to, go get their facials, talk to cosmeticians what their skin need, who really into it. So, and these are people you see in Sephora, in department stores, right? So when you create your brand and you think about your brand, who is your primary target? Are you going to convert non-users? I actually do have a client who is very successfully converting non-users. Are you going to appeal to casual users? And I have clients in that category. And I have clients in super user and luxury brands, which say basically it's going to be super expensive, but nothing is like that, right? My brand is going to be so unique and there's going to be so much in it that people will want to pay it. It's fine. Each of them is fine. But think about where are you, how you message to them, how you're reaching them, what's your value proposition, and so on. Start from that. When you focus on that, then you can break it down to ages, genders, behaviors, and so on. Good. Okay, so a couple more things. Cost and profits. When you start skincare business or cosmetic business, any cosmetic business, your costs and profits are actually not what you probably think. So your cost of goods, COGS stands for cost of goods, is about 5%. It's very low. Actually, ingredients are inexpensive. I'm not including your labor here because if you're starting your own business, your labor is your investment. So whatever you think your labor is worth, that's on your side. But ingredients are probably at like 5%. Packaging can be more expensive than ingredients. In many cases it is, so 5 to 10%. So then you're like at 15%, right? And you say 85% margin is a great margin. That's where I started. And I was like, wow, this is like making money, right? It's not true. Because in order for you to sell something, remember we said overcrowded market, right? Overcrowded. So you really need to spend money on marketing, money and effort. And marketing can take anything from 30 to 85%. And I'm not talking about fancy brochures or anything like that. I'm talking about paying Amazon for displaying your products, paying Etsy for displaying your products, paying Google for the keywords. It can eat all your profits and more. You can, if you break even in the beginning, I think it's good. So between 0 and 40% of profits, you're going to be kind of close to zero in the beginning because you need people to know your brand. You need to get out there. You need to get more people familiar with your product so they can tell their friends and you start spreading, right? You're getting more known. So be prepared for that, not to scare you. And the next slide is going to be probably even scarier, but again, it's not for scaring. This is for awareness and knowing what to expect from your business and from yourself. Yeah, here it is. So what is a realistic income from skincare business? Let's say you ship 250 days a year. So that's like all days a year without weekends. You're not going on holidays, vacations. You're not taking sick leaves every day except Saturday and Sundays. That's 250 days. Let's say you're selling $50 moisturizer. Your cost of goods is $3. Very easy to make. Your packaging is $5, reasonable. And you spend $30 on marketing. So your profit is $12 from this $50 moisturizer. You can put $12 in your pocket. So that's great. So at one sale a day, your annual income is $3,000. Now, one sale a day, you need to scale up your business until you have actually that many orders, because you will start from one a month and then one a week and then maybe one a day, but it's going to take time. To get to 30,000 annual income, you need to get to about 10 sales per day, which now it's shipping 10 products a day every day. One day is not too bad. A week is not too bad. Every day of the year, 10 products, that's an effort. But you also need to make those products somehow. You need to get them. You need to manage the supply chain, right? Ingredients need to be purchased. To get to $300,000 a year, you need to be making 100 sales per day, which is basically means that you will need to have a team. This is now not manageable. So you either outsource it to somebody, they do it for you, or you have a team working for you. So this is realistic expectations from this business. Again, if you have millions of followers, you may get to that 300,000 in no time, and just build your team, scale up the business, outsource production. All this is great. If you're starting from scratch, it's going to take you a while before you get to even 30,000. So know what to expect, right? It helps. And yeah, I think that's most of it. And then I wanted to share some useful resources with you. So there's 2 links for ingredient safety. AWG's environmental working group. They have very easy to understand, very easy to read, very comprehensive database of ingredients. Please use that. And then there's COSING, which is a European one, which is hard to understand, hard to use, but it is much more comprehensive and scientific if you want to get into that. I'm giving you 3 links to learn how to formulate. So if you want to learn how to formulate, or if you want to improve your skills, there are 3 places that I personally know and like. I haven't taken any classes from them, but I do watch them on YouTube and follow what they do. And I'm on their email list. So Humble Bee and Me, it's Marie Rema on YouTube. She's a wonderful educator. She's a wonderful formulator, fun and nice and warm and very easy to understand and follow. She has her own class now. Personal Care Science Institute for Personal Care Science in Australia. Very professional. I should warn you though that ingredients they used not going to be available to most of us. These are ingredients that sold to large companies. So Estee Lauder's type companies will buy those ingredients. They're not going to sell it to small businesses, So that's not particularly useful. Formula Botanica is very good because they teach you how to formulate natural products, and most of the ingredients are available, easy to understand. They have their own classes, not super expensive. So I think that's a good choice if you want to learn how to formulate natural products. These are my favorite ingredient suppliers. There's much more of them than that. I, at some point, just stopped adding them, but there's Lotion Crafters. Crafter is one of my definitely favorite. There's Formulators, Sample Shop, making cosmetics, make your own buzz, TKB, wholesale suppliers, and so much more. So, but again, when you buy, you can buy on Amazon too, but you need to know that you buy from a reputable company. That is very important because you can, first of all, you can buy something which is not what it says. I had those cases. Was wondering why it was so cheap. Well, because it wasn't what it was supposed to be. And then the other thing is that you can actually hurt somebody with that. If you decide to outsource formulation and manufacturing, there are companies which will do that for you. They do private label and they do formula development and manufacturing. Beware that the volumes are usually high and formulation is expensive if you pay for it. They will take your formulation, they will approve it, they will test stability, microbiology, all the stuff that is needed, and they'll package for you in the bottles, will put your label on them, will even design labels for you if you'd like, and you will get your boxes. When you get your 5,000 boxes, make sure that you know how to sell them because you will be paying for storage and distribution from somewhere. Rain Shadow labs are very natural products. It's smaller than others. Vital and Global Beauty I haven't used, but I know other people who did use them, so they're decent. And then two databases that will help you. Color Additive FDA database. So if you want to use colors and want to know which colors are safe, that's where you find information. And International Fragrance Association, IFRA standards. So that's for fragrances, as I mentioned. And I think that's all I had. I'm ready to go to questions.
Okay. How do we define a focus group and where would you find one?
So I created my focus groups from my friends and friends of my friends. So we literally send, email to as many as we knew. I started my business with my daughter-in-law. She has a big network of friends and I have big network of friends. So we just send emails to everybody and said, hey, we're starting this exciting new adventure. Want to be part of it? And a whole bunch of them said, yes, absolutely. So I basically cooked a simple lunch and I said, hey, come on over. And we were sitting around the table and talking. And then they all agreed to participate in testing of my products and answer questions, test value propositions. So that was, I think we had about 40 of them that were part of this. And then we sent them thank you packages and welcome to the family packages when we made our first products. Yeah.
How does working with an influencer work? How do I find the influencer I should work with, how to reach out, what the financial aspect looks like, etc.?
Mm-hmm. So there are different types of influencers. So there's a variety, right? So first of all, there are actually integrator sites which have list all the influencers. I don't remember the name of it right now. If you ask your favorite AI like ChatGPT, where do I find list of influencers? They will give you a couple of sites. There are different types. So I worked with different ones. Some of them are basically Amazon influencers. So you basically send them the product. They will make video, post it on your Amazon page. They will show how they open product, use product, how much they love it, and then they get percentage. So they basically provide affiliate marketing for you. So they get percentage of sales. That is possible. There are influencers which will take your product and just talk about it because remember, they need to talk about something. So if you have an interesting story, there is a good chance that influencer will take it and talk about it because they need to generate content, right? They live on content. So, but if you just reach out to somebody who has millions of followers and say, I created my first product, would you like to review it? You're probably not going to get a reply. I haven't worked with any influencers which would require me to pay to them. They just get kind of more selective as they get more followers. They're more selective on what they take to talk about. Yeah.
Do you know of any course recommendations for meeting European standards that somebody could take?
Formula Botanica is in Europe, so I think you could use that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I want to start selling through offline retailers, but how should I reach out? I've been sending cold emails, but I'm not getting any replies.
Offline retailers, what does it mean?
I'm assuming it means like through storefronts, but I guess I'm
France.
maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I would start from very small stores and just approach them. I mean, emails don't work, really. We get a lot of emails. People don't react to it. There's so much spam too. I would take my product, fully packaged, looking nice, and going to the stores. And I did that. I was selling at the Made in Burlington store. If anybody's here in Woburn, Burlington area, we had Made in Burlington, and I was selling my products there. You just approach the store owner and say, "Hey, I have this product. Would you like to take it?" You probably will get 90% no's and maybe 10% yes, but so you just need to approach multiple stores. If you want to get in significant retail like Whole Foods, Target, and so on, you need to be a little more established. So you need to have good website, you need to have good packaging, you need to have access to higher number of products. Also keep in mind that some stores allows franchises to choose what to sell, some stores don't. So in some cases you will approach, like I think Barnes and Noble, for example, they need permission from the top level HQ to sell stuff in their store. So it kind of goes to all stores in the chain if you work with them. I think Whole Foods allows to sell local, so local manager of Whole Foods should be able to talk to you. Yeah.
How would you recommend we contract each aspect of product development? What should we look for in contractors? I have a large concern with having a quality product free of contaminants and chemically beneficial.
Right. So I would say, you need to meet with them, you need to interview them, you need to show them what you want to have. You also have to be reasonable because some things are just not compatible. And I think majority of contractors, I mean, that's their business, right? That if they make bad products, they're not going to be in business. So I would think like you can try to approach Rain Shadow Labs. I worked with them before. They're very nice and their products are honest.
Have
Uh,
you ever worked with an apothecary? This is the same
no,
person.
no, I haven't. But again, see what they make, see how many customers use them. Um, they probably have some private label, white label products, right? So the ones that they already made, and you can just ask them to package it for you with your label. What do they contain? Do they contain good ingredients? Do they meet your requirements for your vision? Um,
Okay.
Meet with them.
Hello from Puerto Rico. If I want to sell in a spa or a local boutique, do I have to have a UPC code?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you need UPC code. So if you sell on Amazon, you do. If you sell in a local spa, no, I don't think so. So the UPC code is basically needed when you have a huge variety of things and the cashier doesn't know what is that we're selling. So if you have each of your boxes labeled with a price, just put sticker with a price, um, they will enter the code of it and basically they will have private codes for each product and they will enter and they will charge the price. It's not like when somebody brings something off the shelf and they don't know what it is, they need to have UPC code for that.
Where do I find information about establishing a safety profile to market a product as safe for dot, dot,
It depends on what's safe for. So one of the things you can do is just make sure that every ingredient is safe for. So if you mix 10 ingredients, each of them is proven to be safe for something, then probably your formulation is safe for something. Um, there are like baby formulations that people make and they make sure that everything is natural, that there's no preservatives or there's very mild preservatives, organic preservatives. And they say safe for babies, so that's okay. There is no really protocol or certification that you can get. If you want to get true clinical studies of safety of your product, then you need to go through FDA clinical studies, you need to register with FDA and spend millions, if not billions of dollars for clinical study.
what happens if a customer has an adverse reaction to my product? What are the repercussions?
So people say that, somebody will sue me if they have allergy to my product. It doesn't happen usually. In many cases, you will never find out. People just, how many times you bought something, you put it on yourself and you didn't like it, you just throw it away, right? You don't go after the supplier. Potentially they can get it back to you and, express their frustration. In this case, you just return all the money that they paid you and tell them to throw away the product. Um, as you start in small business, nobody is going to go after you and sue you because attorneys are very expensive. In order to sue you, they have to pay thousands of dollars to attorneys. And if you new business, you don't have thousands of dollars to reimburse them. So, in reality, you just return their money, apologize. They will never buy from you again, but that's all it is.
In the US, if ingredients are under a certain percentage, does it have to be disclosed?
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't matter what percentage it is.
Okay. How can I approach manufacturers of my new formula product to help me work on the prototype? Or would that have to be only hiring them for the formulation and take my final product to a different manufacturer to mass produce it?
So nobody's going to make a prototype for free, as far as I know. If you find a company like that, please share with me. I would like to know that. But if you want the R&D to work for you, you will have to pay them. They also manufacture most of the time, so if they will develop it and manufacture. If you want them just to develop, you can pay them for development. They will develop you. You can go through, I would say, set up a contract in Milestone and say, I would like you just to mix all those products and emulsify them and give it to me, right? And I don't need to have stability testing. I don't need, microbiology testing. I don't need all of that stuff. I just need a prototype. And they will agree to that. It's a service. You always can say what you want and what you don't want. But if you want full, like testing takes a lot of time and money.
What must be on packaging in the US?
Ingredients, absolutely. Your contact information. I think that's what I listed here is must be. Where did we have ingredients? So
Right here, list of
list of
ingredients.
ingredients, intended use, warnings. So it's good to put in there that, if you develop allergy, stop using. I mean, it's obvious, but in America, everybody's using this. So shelf life expiration, most products would not have because they kind of have long shelf life and hopefully people use them up before they expire. And your contact information is required. Where to find you? Who are you?
Okay. What's the normal percentage for an influencer or for Amazon reviews?
Um, 10-15% is not unusual.
Okay. Do you know about any funders that finance beauty startups?
No. Any what, like funding?
Yeah, funders. Yeah, they're
No,
specific.
no. I think it's one of those, like, to get grants, you need to have some sort of special mission, right? If you have some very special mission, like, I don't know, you develop products for people going through radiation treatment, for example, you probably can find somebody who has private fund to help people going through radiation treatment. That is possible. Just generally, if you go to, like state or government and say, hey, I would like to get a grant to develop skincare line, there's too many of us. I don't think you can do that.
I had somebody asking if you'll hold a webinar on formulation.
I don't, but we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yes.
Um, what has been your most successful marketing strategy and how do you get visibility on the platforms you use?
Yeah. So I think mine most successful was actually word of mouth because we started from a circle fairly large. I mean, 40 people think that's a large circle of friends. Not all of them are using my products, but some of them fell in love. They told their relatives told their friends. So I get whole bunch of orders from people I never know, but I think there's like 3-degree separation from somebody I do know. Amazon has been, I only have one product on Amazon, but we always put inserts in there saying, hey, if you want more, we have natural products, here's my website. So I've seen people coming from Amazon. I could say that I tried to run Instagram and Facebook, and I had I don't know, maybe had 5 sales from those. So that was not successful for me. And it took a lot of time and effort. And plus, I don't like those platforms. So yeah, I eventually just quit using them. But word of mouth is amazing.
Do you use AI in your business?
Do I use AI in my business? I use AI on a daily basis, generally. I use AI to create, pictures in this presentation. Yeah, kind of like this is totally AI generated. I use it for graphics. I use it to modify my descriptions since, as you noticed, I'm not a native speaker. I do make mistakes. So I actually will send it to AI and say, hey, can you just correct the spelling and stuff? And it will correct it. I will correct it back usually because it's not my style anymore. So for things like that, yes, I will find information. If I would say, I would like to the list of all the emulsifiers that different providers have, it will provide it to me, right? So for information finding, yes. For formulation, no. It's, I probably could, but I never thought about it. I think it will make a lot of mistakes. Science is still, not big. AI is not big in science.
In the early stages of a beauty business, is it acceptable and legally compliant to produce your products at home before moving to a professional manufacturer? And
Totally. Yeah,
okay.
of course.
Um,
Of course. Yes, that's what everybody does. I mean, I have my home lab too. It's not in the kitchen. Like people say, do you make your products in the kitchen? I don't, but I have a home lab. And, as a scientist, lifelong scientist, I had to have my lab. So I love it. I built it. I manufacture better. I have actually equipment that is any commercial lab would have too. So I wouldn't go. I outsource some of my products because just high volumes are not reasonable at home anymore. I just don't have that volume capacity. But a lot of them I still make.
okay,
A
I'm
lot of
gonna
other
put
people do.
combine a couple questions here. Are manufacturers resistant to signing an NDA, and how do you keep your formulation being stolen from a developer?
Oh, intellectual property. Look, I mean, there are millions of formulations. Why would they steal yours, right? They have access to professional formulators, scientists. If they wanted to formulate something, they probably would have formulated. If you go to R&D lab, their business is to develop for you, they service. If they steal their clients' formulas, they're not going to be in business again, right? You have to think of that from their point of view. It's too much risk for not enough return. They are not in business of going to consumer. Even if they steal your formula, what are they going to do with that? Are they going to open their own shop? I don't think so. They in different business. So I wouldn't think so. I think there is non-disclosure agreement in the contract. I haven't tried to contract somebody to develop for me. I have people manufacturing for me, but there is a non-disclosure clause in the contract which says that my formula is my formula. You're not going to sell it to anybody else. But there's just too many of them, too many formulas out there. I mean, don't worry about that. I would.
Okay. Okay, we're down to the last two questions. Um, at what point do you set up your LLC?
When you're ready to sell, so I wouldn't worry about LLC until you're really ready to sell. You start selling, you probably want to have LLC. It's expensive, right? So you have to pay $500 in Massachusetts every year to register your LLC. So and it's a calendar year, right? So if in December I decide to register it, I still will have to pay again in January. So think, when are you really ready to sell? Not like first one product and first one bottle, but when are you really selling?
Do you use a fulfillment center for your packaging or do you ship yourself?
So I use Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, for the ones that I sell on Amazon. The rest of them I ship myself.
Okay. Now I have a question about you being a mentor for SCORE.
Mhm.
And I'll let you know, you can jump into. We discussed this because she's extremely booked for a very extended period of time. So definitely if you have questions for her or want to, we talked about maybe creating a roundtable discussion type situation to mentor several people at one time.
Yeah, if you'd like, we can possibly have kind of a Q&A session with a smaller circle if there's enough interest. I do take new clients. You have to wait for a month or two usually. Right now, I'm booking end of August, but I do take new clients. If you have a quick question, like somebody recently asked me by email, like what does it take, how to pay sales taxes or something, right? So it took me 15 maybe 5 minutes to write an email back and say, here is a reference, this is what you do. So if you have a simple question, reach out. I mean, I'm fine. I answer emails. But if you want me to teach you how to formulate by email, that's going to be more challenging.
Okay, I did put our outreach at scoreboston.org email in there. If you're interested in, some sort of roundtable group, if we have enough interest, we can look at that. But I did put our email address in there. You
Great.
can send that information. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and with everyone today. And thank you everyone for joining us. And we hope to see you again on another presentation. We will send a follow-up email with the recording and those resource pages that Elena mentioned during her presentation. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.